Hi everyone, and welcome to a brief overview of my custom modified Tamiya King Blackfoot. Now, if you want to have details on this build, on the parts that I've used, things that I've done, feel free to check out tamiyaclub.com, and the link is in the description. So go ahead and feel free to post your comments and discuss about this build. I'm also looking forward to see your suggestions, if any, and basically just check it out. Right, so let's get rid of this old beat up body and ditch it aside to reveal what's underneath. So starting with the shocks. The shocks, as you can see, are from a bigger scale vehicle. They're actually from a Savage X, which is an 1:8 scale monster truck, but I find they fit actually quite nicely onto this 1:10 monster, and the best part, they work flawlessly. They work awesome, much better than the original shocks, and I can only, well, maybe even recommend to consider that type of shocks, because they're just really awesome. So on the front, I had to build this additional brace out of spare parts from this truck. Somebody on the forums actually told me what that used to be. I forgot, but anyway, so this is what it looks like. Nothing too fancy, as you can see. It's just to hold the shocks in place. I had to attach them. I had to attach the shocks right there, because if you put them there, you're actually compressing them too much, and you don't get that much of suspension travel out of it. So that was my go-to solution. So turning the truck around to the back, here, same story with the shocks, Savage shocks. Obviously I've used the original attachment points, because those seem to work pretty good. Right, so what's next? Let's take a look at the suspension maybe. So as you can see, I've completely exchanged the original, the original suspension hardware, and threw in some, not even sure what that is, HSP something. I got those parts from Banggood for a bargain price, so I think all in all something like 20 bucks. I know. So right, so I did have to do. I did have to cut away some, some stuff, shorten some mounting points here, as you can see there, to make the hardware fit. But I can tell you, it was worth it. Well, check this out. Maybe before I get to that. So the what do you call this? The control arms, they allow for a lot of flex, too much for my liking. So to avoid that, or let's say to improve that, I stiffened them up with some extra long screws, right there. Maybe I should be using something else. I don't have anything with me. I didn't really plan this video, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show it like this. So this here bolt, which is holding the shock in place, and the shorter one here, the reason for that is I didn't have a bolt that's long enough to go all the way through that. I'm using those to stiffen up the control arms and take out a little bit of that flex. Yeah, so if you think that the shocks are in an awkward position, that is due to the fact that I had to place the upper links here in front, to the front, in front of the motor, actually, because if you use the rear attachment, you don't get the suspension travel. So the upper control arm, it actually collides with the motor. Well, I'm not 100% happy with this, but it works fine. So I might even leave it that way. So anyways, well, yeah, well, maybe, these longitudinal, braces there, I put them there to, stiffen up the whole chassis a little bit, because I'm running it on a brushless motor with a lipo, you know, to allow for it to be able to withstand some beating. I just, you know, added those things in it, and especially I found the front shock tower to allow for too much flex, since I have to remove this, you know, the original cover that's normally sitting there. You know, the tractor cover I used to call it, because this thing looked like a tractor without the body on it. Right, so this was providing some additional support to the shock tower, and now that it's gone, I had to you know, install some supports on myself. I think it actually turned out pretty nicely. Well, yeah, and right, also underneath the chassis, I've added this aluminium tubing there. It's just, you know, cut it in pieces, put some screws through there, and there you go. Right, so maybe onto the electronics really quick. This is a Race Star 4-pole 3900 kV motor that came with this ESC. Also, what did I just say? Race Star, right? So it's a Race Star brushless combo. It's pretty powerful for what it is. I think I paid something like $30 on Banggood, so you can't ask for more for that money. Receiver, it's actually a cheap ass receiver that came along with this, what's that again? Trackstar. So this one was Race Star, and that's Trackstar. Trackstar receiver. I think it's actually slowly dying because sometimes it has glitches, and I think we're gonna ditch it in the long run for something more reliable, because I'm actually afraid the truck might you know, might crash due to some glitches and whatnot. Right, so going further, we're getting to the probably the most interesting part of this build, the steering. So for the steering setup, I used a double or dual bell crank steering setup, which is actually common on most RC cars these days. And that said, you don't need to install all this additional hardware on your truck if you want to go for you know, for this or for something similar. You don't even have to do it exactly the way I did it, but this just gives you so much more control over the truck. It's if you know, or if you're familiar with the original steering setup of the Blackfoot, you know, it's super sloppy and wobbly and wiggly, and it never actually goes where you want it to go. It's more like you're just doing something on your steering, and the truck responses in whatever unpredictable ways. At least that was my experience. So originally I made a steering mod, you might have seen in another video, where the steering was actually attached underneath. Well, you know, back then I wasn't taking this project very seriously. I just had this brushless combo I threw in an old lipo that's still in there, by the way, and I just wanted something, you know, you know, better steering, so to say. So I realized pretty quickly that for a monster truck, a steering that's underneath your chassis is, let's say there are better solutions than that. So anyways, I ended up installing this dual bell crank steering setup onto the chassis. This is, by the way, my JPI, I'm not sure, anyways, it's a 9 kilogram servo, which is pretty powerful, and you have to be careful with that because it can rip apart the chassis. Actually, it's so strong. I mean, for what it is. Right. So let's skip the boring part and get right to the steering. So as you can see here, I used a you know, more or less a ready how do you call this, bell crank assembly kind of thing. It wasn't meant for this truck. Obviously it was meant for a Kyosho something. I think I put it in a thread actually, so you can give it a read there. Right, so what I did to install those I'm not even sure what you call them, those towers I guess. I actually used the original crossbeam. You can see down there. Let me see if I have something to point at it. So yeah, this one, that one. That's the original crossbeam that used to sit actually on, well, I think it actually sat right where it is right now. But what I'm using it for is to actually stiffen up the chassis here, you know, to in order not to break it, and in order to give some support to those towers, to have something to bolt onto. Right, so I threw some, where is it? Come on. I threw some nice ball bearings in there, and the steering is nice and smooth. Let me see if I can turn it on right now. Where is it? There. Hope this thing's not gonna glitch out on me. There you go. Something's happening. Right, so check this out. Okay, what the hell is going on? That wasn't intended. I need a new radio, obviously. Oh, what the hell? Right, as you can see, I'm not very well prepared. Let's give it another try. Turn that off and on again. Come on. Come on, you're live on YouTube. Oh, there you go. Right, there you go. All right, so it's working. So check this out. The steering actually works very, very nicely. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm running out of words. I don't even know what else to say, because put so many infos into that thread. I'm kind of trying not to repeat everything I said, but I think I'm failing already. You know, maybe the most important part or feature, or however you want to put it, about the steering is that with Jounce you don't have any steering inputs. Now try doing that to your original front suspension on a Tamiya. You'll notice instantaneously that that the wheel, when it's traveling upwards, it's actually turning inwards, so you're getting a toe in on that, and that leads to unpredictable steering inputs on bumps and the like. And this here completely does away with it. Maybe you've seen this other video of mine where I ran the track on you know, in some dirt. I'm not sure if you can tell it from the video, but it behaved really, really nicely, you know, in a way that you would expect from a real RC car. So I'm very happy with this setup, and I think I'm gonna be improving it further. And I've got a couple of ideas of what I'm gonna do next. So first of all, one way or another, I'm gonna attach this bumper to it. It's not that it really needs it, but I think it just looks cool. Alright, so I think my camera is dying, so quickly wrapping it up. My wheels, I'm currently balancing those. As you can see here, they're very unbalanced, cheap wheels, but what do you want to do? Anyways, this one's actually good. So up next, I'm probably gonna throw in these stabilizer bars on the front and on the rear to hopefully improve the response of the truck even further. And then I'm planning to do a wheelie bar. I got these nice foam wheels that are actually an airplane landing gear wheels. Let's see if I can come up with something for that, because it's actually pulling wheelies just like that. You just touch the throttle and then it explodes on you. And maybe last but not least, I'm still contemplating if I should throw these in. This is actually another complete set of suspension parts, aluminum suspension parts with aluminum arms, obviously. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should do it though, because I think that those are, you know, pretty sturdy, and I'm just thinking if you take, or if I take all the flex out of these control arms here, that might actually damage the truck more than anything, more than, you know, help it help its control. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts, your comments, whatever, and hopefully see you soon. Stay tuned.